Hi, welcome along to a game of two halves, joined by Mark Goldbridge in the building. Mark, good morning to you. How's everything today?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm not as happy as probably you are as an Arsenal fan. Everything's going your way at the moment, isn't it? Even Chelsea helping you out yesterday, which was extraordinary. But yeah, good weekend. A funny weekend in the Premier League. You know, even like we were just saying there about Ruben Amorim sort of trying to do a Maresca. It's a bit of a Chelsea weekend. Chelsea getting the assists for everybody at the moment.
Crazy weekend. Let's start off with that. We'll start with that game, which took place on Sunday. Of course, Manchester City slipping up at home, surprisingly, against Chelsea. When you consider Chelsea, no manager, no Caicedo, no Cucurella, right? So you would have thought for Manchester City, the absolute perfect time to play Chelsea. But it was just a real, I don't know what you felt. I thought the first half was a bit of a lackluster affair. Great goal by Reinders. And then in the second half, still, even though City were on top, they just didn't, they still didn't really press home their advantage. And you could see Chelsea growing and growing into the game, especially when Delap came on. They started to have a real focal point up front. And I think in the end, Chelsea definitely deserved their draw.
I think if that was Arsenal, the only thing I would say, and I said it in my match reaction last night, was that from City's point of view in the second half, I remember numerous times where Foden could have played Cherki in, Silva could have cut it back to Haaland. There's 3 or 4 times where you'd expect City to play the right pass and kill the game, and they didn't, and they were wasteful, and it was one of those days. And as you said, Chelsea, it's fair play to the coach, can't remember his name, made a tweak at half-time, took an attacker off, brought a midfielder on, and it made it more of a 50-50 game than it was in the first half. And you're always in it at 1-0 in the Premier League. I mean, I think 1-0 is probably one of the most dangerous scores in the Premier League this year, because look at Spurs yesterday as well. And fair play to Chelsea. I mean, Donnarumma did his best to try and keep it out, but Enzo got there in the end. And I think it's a very good point for City. Very good point for Chelsea.
Yeah.
But a terrible point for City. Really bad in the title race. 2 points from 6 in their last 2, and that gap is big now. And it's exactly what I thought about City. I feel like they're a work in progress. I don't feel they're actually ready to win the title. I know they still can, but I think they've shown a little bit of experience over this weekend.
And a couple of injuries for them as well, like in the defensive position, important ones as well, especially the Ruben Diaz one. We don't know how long he's going to be out, but he didn't look good. Gvardiol as well, who's been playing well the past few weeks. They could be missing them going into a couple of games as well. And, we all know January is a very busy period, especially for teams like Man City. You've got Champions League. They've got the Carabao Cup as well. A total, I think, 9 games in total for this month. You don't want to be picking up too many injuries this month.
No, and I think, it's... you want to do well over Christmas because you want to put a bit of points in the bank, and that's what Arsenal have done and a few other teams have done. But for City to lose ground, because when we went into Christmas, it was, who's going to stop Man City? Arsenal are going to bottle it. Even though Arsenal hadn't lost the game, they were winning. They were scraping results apparently, and then you come out of it and, City have dropped the points and Arsenal haven't. I think with title race, some people just get too hyped up about individual game weeks, and actually Christmas is a period of 4 games, and Arsenal have come out of it on top, and Man City have dropped the points. So that's where we are.
Yeah, absolutely massive. And, what Arsenal did on Saturdays, they applied the pressure. Massive win away at Bournemouth. I was at the game. Have to say, Bournemouth in the first half, I thought they were really good. Put a lot of pressure on Arsenal. Uncharacteristic mistake by Gabriel, but then he redeemed himself after that with a nice finish by him. But Bournemouth are really, it's not an easy place to go to, Bournemouth, because it's a really tight pitch, really sort of different ground to most of the other grounds in the Premier League. And they were really on it right from the start. You could see they were really up for it. But Arsenal, they weathered it. And then in the second half, good performance. And Declan Rice, I mean, this guy for me, I did a fan cam after the game, and I said, listen, the debate is over now. I don't want no one to tell me that this guy is not world class. And it's not just based off of that game, but he's consistently good for club and country. And he's been consistently good over the last few years. You saw last year he got into the European, sort of UEFA Team of the Year. He's an exceptional player. We missed him in that game against Villa, even though we won that game pretty easily. But if Arsenal can keep him fit from now till the end of the season, they definitely have a serious chance in this Premier League.
Yeah, someone said to me yesterday, if Arsenal had to lose one player for the rest of the season, who would United want it to be? And I said Declan Rice out of the 4 options were there. To be fair, Gabriel wasn't there, and I think he's an important player as well. But Arsenal got a lot of important players. But I agree with you. I thought Bournemouth, I couldn't believe, we were on about this the other day, 29 goals conceded away from home Bournemouth this year, but only 6 at home. How do you get your head around that? And they did play well, and for a long period of that game, I felt like they could get something out of it. But that's a testament to Arsenal's mentality to make sure that they get results. And also, I think the squad game that Arteta's got this year is better than Pep. To leave Saka out or rest Saka and play Madueke for 70 minutes, and Madueke was very good and had a big part to play in one of the goals. That just shows that's what squad depth is. You can't always pick your best team, especially when you're playing the volume of games you play over Christmas. And Arsenal have had a lot of injuries as well, but he's got a very, very good squad. And that showed against Bournemouth, where I think some teams were quite tired over Christmas. Arteta's been able to mix it up a little bit. So credit to Bournemouth, but it's a really good result for Arsenal again. Yeah,
it is a very good result. And I think the thing with Arsenal as well, the good thing at the moment is that a lot of players are starting to come back as well. They've had a lot of injuries that they've been able to weather. And I've been saying for quite a while, they've actually done exceptionally well to be top with the amount of injuries they've had. They've gone away to places like Chelsea and Villa without no Saliba, no Gabriel. They played Villa the other day without Declan Rice. They've been missing big players. Saka was missing at the start of the season. Odegaard's been missing for periods of times. Now a lot of these players are starting to come back, and maybe coming back a bit fresher because they've been out. And, they've got Havertz now who's back in the squad. You've seen Jesus looks rejuvenated. They're getting these players back at the right time. I remember last season around January, they suffered loads of injuries to real key players. But sort of in the reverse. Could the momentum be swinging that way with injuries for Arsenal as well, going into this sort of really busy January and then busy sort of business end of the season? Really important win.
The thing about Arsenal as well is they're also a team. Eze's not really had much of a look in the last couple of games, but he's still massively part of it and has some really important games. And that people are always looking for an angle with Arsenal. I saw a certain pundit talking about Gyökeres, and it's like they're top of the league by 6 points, and you're trying to call Gyökeres a flop. I think obviously he hasn't scored enough goals, but when you watch Arsenal, it's the misprofiling of him. One of those goals happens because he's bullying 2 defenders, and it comes loose for Declan Rice. Odegaard lays it off, and it's a goal. Obviously, Arsenal fans will want him to score more goals, but they're definitely a different team with him in the team than they are with Havertz and Jesus, who offer something different. He's a bit of a battering ram, which occupies centre-backs, which creates spaces for others. They're a squad. Arsenal are a squad. There's so many players in that team that offer different things. Even Martinelli offers something different to Trossard, and I think he's got a really. I think they'll win the league, but obviously I appreciate there's still a long way to go.
Still a long way to go. And should we be writing off Aston Villa? Remember, they're on the same amount of points as Manchester City after their 3-1 win against Nottingham Forest. The third goal, I don't know what the keeper is doing. Maybe he can explain.
Well, he's up injured doing it. Apparently, I think that was crying from embarrassment, wasn't
it? But big win for Villa, and Villa are still going on along. I know they got the they got the beat down at Arsenal, but they're still going along nicely. Aston Villa.
Yeah, it's funny. I was out on Friday night with one of my mates who's a Villa fan, and he was saying, we're just enjoying it, but more importantly, it's every result. We're just looking at how far ahead we are of 5th, because it's about Champions League football is really important to them. For Villa, it's and that's not being disrespectful to Villa, but Champions League football for Villa is a huge achievement in any season. So you've got to respect the fact that at the moment, if they keep winning games, they're going to be up there. But to bounce back from that Arsenal game as well, and there was part of me that thought maybe Forest fighting for their lives, bit of a local game, could be a draw, but they dealt with it really, really well again. And with Man United, Chelsea, and Liverpool not winning, that's more of a gap for them on the top 4 race as well.
No, definitely. Let's get on to some of them games on Sunday. Starting off with your game, Leeds versus Manchester United. Never easy to go to Leeds for Manchester United because of all, the rivalry, and also lots of injuries and players missing at AFCON for Manchester United. Went behind, but then came back straight away through Cunha. Was a really, really tight game. Probably 1-1, definitely a fair result, Mark.
Yeah, I think Leeds, this is their biggest game. It's not, the rivalry with Leeds, I know it, but I never lived it. It's more of a 70s thing. But for Leeds, it's absolutely huge for them. I think they were a bit unfortunate, Leeds, if I'm being honest, in the fact that they played Thursday night. I think it's really hard to play Thursday night and then Sunday lunchtime. They were a bit flat in the first half, but they were better in the second half. And then from United's point of view, I think our issue was we had no bench. I thought we did okay, but we had no bench at all. Ironically, it was Xerxes who got the assist, but apart from him, there was nothing. So I think a draw was a fair result. And look, there's a lot of reasons to criticise United at the moment, but a draw at Ellen Road, I remember Sir Alex Ferguson struggling there when we were very good. It is a tough, and they're a good team, Leeds. It's not like Bielsa's team. So I think a draw, ultimately, if we'd have had a couple of better players on the bench, I think we might have won it. I thought there was opportunities to do it because Leeds were a little bit tired, but a draw, probably the right result. But the big story for us was really what Amorim said after the game.
Yeah, talk to me, Mark. Right, what is Ruben Amorim up to? I saw his comments that he made about, he's not a coach, he's a manager, and all this sort of stuff, and having a pop at the board. It seemed subliminally that they're not giving him any money for transfers, and he's doing a Maresca part 2. We know how it ends. Maresca's gone because of his little outbursts. What is Amorim playing at? Was he trying to get out, or so? What was happening?
I think it is that simple. I think it's back me or sack me. I mean, some of the stuff he came out with, referencing Gary Neville, was sort of like, it's almost as if the board have listened to Gary Neville. He was sort of like saying, you do your job as a sporting director. If you're listening to people like Gary Neville, then, or fans, then you're not doing your job properly. And I think that, look, it doesn't matter whether you're Ruben Amorim or Mikel Arteta. Walking into this January transfer window, Man United need to sign players. So obviously, I understand if people want Amorim out, I've got to respect it. It's not been good, but however way you look at it, Man United are 3 points off fourth, and we've got huge holes in that team. And you look at what Man City are doing with Semenyo, and you look at what Palace have done with Brennan Johnson. United should be buying players in January regardless. And no one can tell me that you can't buy a midfielder that's going to work for the next manager, even if you sack Amorim in May. So it's typical Man United Glazeronomics of, we don't want to spend in January, but we should be spending in January. So he is right to call out the sporting director, who I don't rate anyway. But I agree with you. I think that there's only going to be one winner here. I wish the winner was Amorim and they sacked the sporting director, but they're Ineos disciples. They'll be absolutely fine. So I think it's the beginning of the end. There's no going back.
You think it's the beginning? You think it's the beginning of the end for him?
Amorim, yeah, because I don't think it's like any relationship. When the trust is gone, and it has, they might be able to paper the cracks for a bit, and they might get through to May. But I think long term, even he said himself, everyone just needs to do their job for 18 months, and then we'll part ways. Or I'm not walking. I'll do my job until they sack me. So I respect it. From a United fan perspective, I think we'd rather know the truth, and it is a shit show. So, if they're going to sack him, sack him. That's what being an owner is all about, isn't it? That's what he's saying. Look, if he's not happy in his job, and the fact that he said, I'm a manager, not a head coach, means that he's basically being told to change his formation. He's not going to get players. He's probably been lied to from the job he was offered a year ago. So I think what we're seeing, Robbie, over the last month, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, is that managers aren't just going to sit there and toe the party line. If they're not being treated the way they want to be treated, these are young managers who've got another 30 years in the game, probably don't want to be tarnished. They've got they're almost their own brand in a way, aren't they? They've got to protect themselves.
Well, could we be seeing the end of Thomas Frank as well? He came under heavy criticism from Tottenham fans again. 1-1 draw at home against Sunderland, and Sunderland could have won that game as well. Second half, Sunderland were all over Tottenham. The brand of football Tottenham fans not happy with. I mean, it's more drop points at home for him. Is he hanging by a thread as well?
I didn't watch the game, so it's hard for me to say. And obviously, you've always got to be driven by your fans. I mean, I personally thought that Spurs would win it. I think you said it would be a draw, fair play. But, it's not. It's, Sunderland don't lose many games. So, and they're above Spurs in the league. So,
Not as good on the road, though. Not as good on the road. And for the Tottenham fans, they're still looking at it and saying, it's Sunderland. We're supposed to, that's how they're looking at these games.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? I think it's one of those club-specific issues, and I'm not going to tell Spurs fans they shouldn't want Thomas Frank to be sacked. What I would say is he needs to be backed in January. Brennan Johnson's been sold. Where's that money going to go? And Spurs, to me, is a huge project. We've just spoken about Man United. Chelsea have got their own issues. But Spurs is a big project, and I think expecting Thomas Frank to be able to turn that around in 5 months is probably a little bit naive. And I would also say, where are you going to go next? I think sometimes we're locked in football to let's change the manager. But the more you change a manager, the harder the job gets. We've seen that at United. You're just piling more shit for the next one. Where is Spurs going next if they get rid of Thomas Frank? What's the project then? And, there isn't... I understand the frustration, but sometimes... I would say this with United, you've got to start pointing the finger at the people responsible for your unhappiness. And surely that's the ownership,
Yeah, true. I'll tell you what, right? There was a lot of great finishes to games this weekend, but none better, I think, than the Fulham-Liverpool game. I mean, that goal that Fulham scored, that's that absolute worldie. That had me, out of my seat. I mean, Harrison Reed, absolute thunderbolt. The moral of the story is, and this is what I'm noticing now, if you're going to take your shirt off to celebrate, right, Gakpo, Richarlison, do it like what Jesus done when you're 4-0 up, right? Because, right, I mean, this taking shirt off thing, right, is leading to a lot of tears at the moment, right? I mean, Liverpool thought they'd done it, right, with a absolute last-minute winner by Gakpo. But what a goal. What a goal that was. Honestly, that you watch games like that, you're like, yeah, it's why I love football.
Well, I just done the United game, then I was having a bit of lunch, and then I was getting ready for the City-Chelsea game, but I had the TV on, just getting ready, and then I saw Liverpool. I was like, you know what, again, Robbie's gone for a bloody Liverpool win, I've gone for a draw. And I'm like, how they've done that? And then I'm like, oh, and then you see that and you go, oh, that's what football is all about. I mean, look, I never feel sorry for Liverpool, but they're having that sort of a season. I think one of my Liverpool fan mates just sort of went, well, fair play, it's a great goal. What do you expect with Liverpool this season? I think even Liverpool fans were appreciative of what a good goal it was, and it's indicative of the season they're having. But I felt Fulham deserved it as well.
Yeah, they deserved it. I thought they deserved it.
Yeah. So, and it's, I wish we saw more of those goals. I really do. I think that sometimes these players have the ability, don't they? They have the ability.
There's 2 goals like that. Bournemouth scored like one like that against us as well.
Yeah, it was good.
I couldn't believe that goal. I was sort of to the side of it, and when he hit it, as soon as he hit it, I was like, what?
I thought that deflected. I did, but he didn't. He just caught it.
Arrowed. Yeah. Right. But the thing is, I need to ask you this. I don't know if you saw this, right? If you watched the game on that, right? I was watching the game, right? And the Wirtz goal.
Yeah, I did.
When I saw it in real time, I'm like, offside.
Yeah.
Simple, offside. Like, and then like they're taking ages to look at it, and I'm thinking, maybe I looked at it wrong or something like that. And then they give it as a goal. And I'm looking at it, right? And the thing is, the way that even the grass was cut on the pitch, it looked clear to me that he was offside. I need them to explain this, right? How he was onside. Or was there some sort of glitch in the technology? Because that looked clear to me. I don't know what you made of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've just Googled it there this morning because you just reminded me about it, and I'm sure they're going to have to try and explain it because it's the grass line. When we look at it from that angle, I always go, sometimes they look off and they're on, but it's the grass line. When the way they cut the grass, that's straight. So I'm like, he's off.
Yeah. And then they showed they showed him little diagram things that and I'm like, nah, I'm looking at it unless something's going wrong in my eyes, right? I'm looking at it. You clearly see with the grass, right? He's got his foot ahead. How was that onside? Nah, there's something dodgy on that. I think if that game hadn't ended in a draw, this would be even bigger controversy around that.
Well, basically what it's saying, because it's semi-automated offside, other leagues like Germany, Spanish, and Spain have gone. They do it by the millimetre. But when the Premier League introduced it, it wanted to continue with the tolerance level to give some leeway to the attacker. And that's because there are still, so basically what they're saying is that he probably what appears to be offside, but they want to give the benefit of the doubt on tight offsides. And I'm like,
they don't normally do.
Well, it's offside then, isn't it? That's what I mean. It is offside. We all saw it, and it's back. I think what yesterday did again, it's another thorn in the side of the PGMOL and their incompetence. That actually you can't even trust their offside. The one thing we thought we could trust, you can't even trust their offside decisions. It was shocking. Liverpool fans will say, "Hold on a minute, we had one at Spurs. It's not Liverpool's fault." I want to say it's not Liverpool's fault. I'll take that if it happens to United, but it is bang out of order, and they've been caught in 4K, haven't they? Literally.
Offside, man, offside. Let me run through some of the other results quickly. Great result for Brentford, 4-2 away at Everton. That's Everton. There's a couple of defeats now at the Hill Dickinson. A couple of them would have had 4 put past them as well, but brilliant result for Brentford. Their managers, one of the managers of the season so far. Newcastle beating Crystal Palace by 2-0. A very welcome win for them. But again, Palace continue their slump. That's another manager who just doesn't have the squad to cope with the amount of games that he's had. Brighton beating Burnley by 2-0. That was a really massive win for Brighton. They hadn't won for a little bit. And Burnley, not great for them, still pushes them down at the bottom. And saving the best for last, Wolverhampton Wanderers getting 3 points. That win was coming. They've been playing better against certain teams. They got a draw against you. You know, they put us under the cosh. They put Liverpool, nearly got a result there. 3-0 winners over West Ham, who were dreadful on the day. And massive result for Wolves, and well done to them for getting that. And maybe they can go after not being the worst team ever in the Premier League. And that means they're still rock bottom on 6 points. Just above them, Burnley on 12, West Ham on 14, Forest, who are in 17th place, on 18 points. So that's a 4-point gap. Leeds on 22. They ain't looking safe already. It's between those 4 at the bottom, but the West Ham are in serious trouble now. And Nuno Espirito Santo, he could be another manager gone.
And who do they play tomorrow night? West Ham? Forest.
Massive, massive game. And at the top, Arsenal top on 48 points now, a 6-point gap. Man City in second on 42. Villa on 42 also in third place, only on goal difference. Liverpool in fourth, just hanging on to that. All the other results went for them despite them slipping up. They all got 34. Chelsea into fifth on 31. Man United on 31. Brentford in seventh on 30. Sunderland in eighth on 30. Even Newcastle, 29 points in ninth. That fourth and fifth place is up for grabs. Anybody you can go on a decent run can get that place.
Keep an eye on Newcastle. Keep an eye on Newcastle. I think they're a good team, and if they can they've had a bad start, but if they can get a rhythm like they can under Eddie Howe, all you got to do is go and win 3 or 4 games out of 7.
Win 4 games in a row, you're in it.
Yeah, 100%.
You're right in it. Right, let's get into our team of the week. Who did you go?
It's a good one this week because I did actually do some research on it because I thought I didn't think there wasn't that many standout players in the defence, but I like what you've done with Sarr because I just went Donnarumma because I thought it was a brilliant save from Enzo, but it still ended up in the goal. But I was
Jose Sarr. Listen, Wolverhampton Wanderers has been dreadful this season. He keeps a clean sheet. I'll get some Wolves players in my team this week, man. So I went a back 4. Let me give you my back 4. I went Miley, Newcastle, Robinson of Fulham. I thought was really good. Krejci, is it, of Wolves?
Yeah,
Wolves player in there, clean sheet. And I thought Chalobah, Chelsea did all right.
Yeah, I got Miley. I went Kadioglu at Brighton. Apparently, he had a good game. And then I had 2 different centre backs. I went Tor at Newcastle. I think he scored a goal, and apparently it was very good. I actually went with your guy, Gabriel. I really rate Gabriel. He got a goal.
Yeah. But he did make that horror mistake.
Yeah,
that's the only reason.
You need to drop him out for either of yours.
I like that 4-1. 4 at Newcastle. You're right, and he scored as well.
Yeah, he was good. I think he's got to be in. But yeah,
He-
use one of your centre backs then.
Yeah, okay, we put 4 in there. Right, midfield.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I've definitely got McGinn and Rice, but I went with Enzo instead of James. I know a lot of people said Reece James played well, but I thought Enzo Fernandez was really good and got the equaliser. But ultimately, it's a Chelsea player, isn't it? So I'm not really that bothered.
Okay. And up front, I've gone Igor Thiago. What a season he's having! 2 hat-tricks he's had. I think he's only about 4 goals off Haaland.
Yeah.
Could get into the Brazil team the way he's playing. You know what I mean? Absolutely brilliant. I went Watkins of Villa and Mane of Wolves. Who was really good. And, we've got to big up Wolves for that performance.
I got Mane in. And I didn't put Watkins. I put Cunha in. Man United, I thought he played very well for us. But
good shout. Good shout.
A good goal. Was probably our man of the match.
Yeah, he was your best player.
I didn't really watch the Villa game that much. I was on in the background, so I don't.
Watkins had a good game. I think I'm going to leave Watkins in. Sorry, Mark. Cunha did have a good game. You're right. Cunha had a very good game, but I think I'm going to leave. I'm going to go Watkins. So that's our team of the week. As usual, let us know if you agree with our team of the week. We always love to hear from you guys. You never agree with us, but always love to hear from you guys. But listen, Mark, thanks very much. We're back over on Mark's channel because there's games again this week. The games never stop.
Although it does stop on Friday. We haven't got one on Friday because it's the FA Cup. Which
I've
got to say your hot take on that last week is going to be absolutely spot on. Villa play Spurs, and I thought I might watch that on Saturday night. And then I said to the missus, no, we'll go out for a meal. She was like, don't you want to do Villa Spurs? And I said, no, because they're both going to pick a right load of shit because they've both got Europe and top 4 to fight for. And I think we'll see a lot of that at the weekend.
We're going to see so many teams. And as I said, even if you look at some of the championship teams and League One teams, they got things to play for as well. And they're just looking on it and thinking, we've had too many games.
Yeah, they are.
And they've got to rotate. They have to rotate. I think this playing games during the week this week in the Premier League is a bit scandalous. I'm like, they've just played like all over Christmas and the weekend, and now they got games during it. Honestly, like they're trying to flog the players to death. But let's see what sort of teams they put out. But Mark, thank you very much. As I said, I'll be over on Vats Football to take a look at the games that are happening during the week. So make sure you check that out. Don't forget to subscribe here to DR Sports. We're here every week when the Premier League's on, taking a look back at the weekend's games. But the big winner of this weekend is definitely Arsenal. And well done to Wolves.